Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Good Friday. Is it appropriate to say Happy Good Friday? Oh. Anyway, I only had a half day of work today, and what I'm going to be talking about today is part one of a two-part series that Mark and I are going to do about caretaking, looking after your partner if your partner is sick. Want to talk about this because it's something that goes back and forth actually with Mark and I. Mark has a considerable number of physical health concerns and some mental health ones as well. Mine are largely mental health and very few, if any, physical, and we both have a history of addiction. So when it comes to caretaking, it's something where we each have to look after each other from time to time. And ideally, he's having a good day when I'm having a bad day, and vice versa. And we're not both having bad days at the same time, because that can be troublesome to try to get through. So what I kind of wanted to talk about was some of the things that I have as challenges and concerns and things I do to try to help Mark out when he's having some physical challenges or mental health challenges. And I went over and took some notes for this because I could really get all over the place trying to put this all in order. So here's how. By the way, part two is going to be Mark talking about me, and I won't be in that video. So you'll get to see his side of it as well. So, let's see. With his physical health, primarily, I listen. Mark's diagnosis came up like a couple years ago, pretty much. And it was instigated by me trying to get him go to the mall to get a pair of glasses. And that's where the eye problem was noticed. And then it was followed up by more specialists. And the further we got in, the more issues were found and the worse he started to feel. And it kind of spun on itself. I don't understand a lot of what he's feeling at times. I used to try to relate to it, and every once in a while now I try to. He'll say, like, my arm hurts. And looking at him, his arm hurts. Or he can't open his hand. Or he almost looks like he needs help walking. I always hate when someone would say to me, you know, like about quitting drinking or something. I'll say, yeah, I was drinking every day. I was drinking in the morning. I was drinking in the shower. You know, that really kind of devastating, pathetic kind of life. And they would say, oh, I understand addiction. I am the zombie without my coffee in the morning. I'm like, really, bitch? Really? It's not quite the same. Did you ever sell your grandma's silverware for coffee? So I try not to do that with Mark and try to say, oh, I understand, when I don't understand. I do time to time and kind of slip up, but I don't want to be disrespectful like that. I try to remind him if I can, because he has medications that he takes, and I can understand that if you're having bad side effects, not wanting to take medication, not wanting to take it all at once, not wanting to take medications that have severe side effects, even in a flare-up where the pain is immeasurable and he's almost immobile and he can't do a lot of stuff. But at the same time, I like to ask, without being a nudge, have you taken this? Are you still taking it? Is there any difference when you do or don't take it? Again, I'm not a doctor, but I'm trying to find out information so that I can try to be helpful if I can. But like I said, the majority is, you know, I have to listen. I have a little bit of arthritis in my own body. It's nothing compared to what he goes through. My biggest fear, and so like I said, I try not to equate the two when I talk to him. It's really not close. My big fear for him, of course, is that this is going to consume him and he's going to be at a point where he's like disabled, like fully disabled, like needs help walking and showering and, you know, with hygiene and stuff like that. And we had made an agreement. I made an ultimatum, actually, at the beginning. I said, if we follow up with this, because he was hesitant, because who wants to think about being sick? So if you don't look into it, you're not, right? He didn't want to follow up initially with a lot of the appointments. And I said, if you get sick, and we found out that we could have prevented it, or put it in remission, or whatever, if we had started pursuing treatment sooner, I am going to put you in the most crooked personal care home you have ever seen. Or if you do get a personal aide to help you do your stuff, I'm going to make sure they're mean. Like Nurse Ratched mean. So, laying that groundwork with threats and emotional blackmail, he continued with the treatment. But that's the bigger fear of mine with him, is that he'd be immobile. And what would we do? I mean, I guess we'd get a first floor apartment. and he'd have to apply for disability because he wouldn't be able to work anymore. Mark has like a trade, you know, it's his profession. He's been doing it for 20 plus years, and if he can't do that anymore, I don't know what he would be able to do. So that's a concern. I have mental health concerns, but his are not the same as mine. His are chemical and situational. I mean, I would imagine it's depressing to be in pain all the time. So even though mine are arguably more, they're different. I don't want to compare and say who suffers more. That's a contest nobody wins. But his are primarily depression and feelings of hopelessness that kind of creep through there, and being defeatist and negative. And again, I try to just listen, because how could you not feel that way? How could he not feel that way? And I don't want to try to talk him out of his feelings, because then he's not going to feel them. If he's trying to talk himself out of it and do it in a positive way, then of course I'll dialogue with him, I'll chat with him, because I don't want him to feel bad. I mean, of course I don't. I love him. So, and I guess the final thing, and this goes back and forth, and this is another one of those, you know, I hope we both don't get sick at the same time, is that we both have a history with addiction. Now, granted, our drugs of choice were different, but addiction is addiction, for the most part. He had a history with opiates and pills and heroin, and mine was with alcohol. So if either one of us started using for whatever reason, you know, when you look back and you go to a rehab, they usually say these things all lined up and led to it. But sometimes nothing happens, and it just seems to come up. And I know that seems silly, and if you're not an addict, or you're not familiar with addiction, or if you're a family member, I can appreciate that, you know, your experiences are very different than ours. That there's a level of like selfishness and self-centeredness, and oh, now that you're sober, you expect the world to be grateful for you. That could come through there. I can appreciate that. I understand how that goes. But my concern for Mark and I is that if either one of us relapsed, a lot of times that's like hitting the reset button on life. You need to go away for treatment. You need to be detoxed. You probably have to leave your job. If you have to leave your job, we're a one-income family. I can keep the roof up, I can keep the lights on, and I can keep food in the fridge, but we probably can't keep a car. We could feed Bandit. I would feed him before I'd feed myself. Things would just be very tight. Life would change. If I needed to go into treatment, I'm not sure how we would do, because Mark's limited in the amount that he can work, and I'm bringing in, at the moment, like I said, enough to keep the roof up and stuff like that. Like Mark pays some bills, I pay some bills, and then we split some bills. So that's another fear of mine as far as mental health goes. And things co-occur a lot. Would it be a surprise if a person with chronic pain fell into an addiction with painkillers, and someone with a previous history of addiction to painkillers who's now in pain could fall back into that? That's a realistic fear, you know? As much as I have my own mental health stuff. And why not on a whim of mania decide I probably never had a problem with alcohol and go to the liquor store? That could be a concern of his. I imagine it could be. I don't know. So caretaker burnout is kind of a real thing. I haven't really had it because he's so periodically, you know, ill, and it's for a few days at a time, and then it goes away, and then it comes back, so it hasn't been extended. But we're not at the place yet where, and hopefully we'll never be there, but we're not at the place where he needs physical assistance, where I need to be able to do everything or a lot of things for him. You know, if that time comes, then we'll deal with whatever those circumstances are. Like I said, first floor apartment. Do we need to get like an aide to help with stuff? Would he want me to be the person helping him with his hygiene? Would he feel embarrassed? Would he want another person doing it? Do I feel comfortable having a sexy CNA come in to towel him down? I don't know about that. Of course, it's more important he's clean than that I'm jealous, but that's neither here nor there. So at any rate, those are kind of the things I wanted to touch on about the reciprocal back and forth of the caretaking, and most of my concerns when it comes to providing support to him. So I'm going to cut this here, And I will leave you with that. Again, part 2, which will probably be in a few days, will be Mark sharing some of his insights about the same topic, and he'll be here by himself doing it. So, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, give the thumbs up. You can subscribe and then hit the bell to get the alerts so you know when our next video is coming. We usually post every day. You can follow us on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Facebook you can friend us at SmokeySteveAndMarc. And thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with you all soon. Bye!